Side collapses. With a normal 50% side collapse, the kind of general normal 50% side collapse, we lean away from it, we counter it, we pump it out. Okay? Or we collapse it, we let it turn 90 degrees, and we use a kind of wing over recovery. The wing over type recovery is the most efficient. It's the way you lose the least amount of height, the way you create the least amount of drag. It's the best method to use if you're in clear space. If you're flying very fast and we get, boom, worst case scenario, 90–80% collapse with a high angle, the glider we know is going to shoot super hard and really fast. In these instances, I believe leaning away from that collapse is actually counterproductive and it makes things worse. Okay, if it shoots hard and you lean away from it, you risk getting completely twisted up very quickly. Okay, twist is a nightmare on a glider. You're disorientated. It's easy to then start pulling the wrong brakes and making it even worse, putting you into a spiral. And if that tip cravats, a twisted, cravated spiral as you're spiraling backwards, is worst case scenario. And it's those sort of incidences that you're going to end up throwing a reserve. So in very big collapses, the best thing to do is actually go with it. It's actually lean into the collapse. We found it in testing with the high performance wings, especially full speed, is because we're testing, it's like, oh my god, and you collapse the wing and you want to go like that, and every time you go like that, and the glider shoots and then it pulls you in towards it and it all collapses and you fall past it.
Yeah, you gotta collapse on the other side and game is over.
And then when you do the same collapse and you kind of lean in with it and go with it, it's
slowing it down.
So much nicer.
Yeah.
So on the big collapses at full speed, lean into it. Go with the glider. Obviously, that doesn't count if you've got a cliff face there, or if I'm there. Because I'm like that. I'm not watching you. If you get a big collapse like that and you get the tip cravat, then my personal opinion is that you stop the counter rotation. You don't let it develop past the first 360. As soon as you feel it going away from you and it's like, no, that's not what I want, you stop it. And if it's not stopping you, stop it more. And you're looking at the wing, and if it starts to peel, then you come off, and you just have to reduce your likelihood of getting the glider in a spiral. By which time, normally, the beautiful thing about these modern gliders is that they do cravat, the tips do cravat, but generally when you get a big cravat, they work themselves out to a small tip cravat. I haven't had, in many years, a cravat that's big and stays big. They all tend to work themselves out to a small tip cravat, which can still create a lot of drag and spiral you into the ground, but they're not so much drag that you can't stop the rotation. You should never let it go more than 1 360 in a rotation that you don't want it to be in. You can always stop it. I mean, you might need to keep it in a turn for sure, but you can stop the nose down kind of spiraling.
Would you drag it all the way to the stall if you needed to?
You never normally have to, because if it starts to really dive, you just pull, and you start to come out. And then, of course, you're checking the wing, you're looking for the stall once you've got less energy and you're under it. But actually stalling the wing as it's here, spiralling hard with a cravat, why, you need to have a lot of power, a massive amount of power to do that. So I don't think that's... The major worry is stopping the spiral down towards the ground, rather than the stall at this stage of an incident. It's nipping it in the bud. It's not allowing something to develop beyond your control. Because after 2 360s of that kind of spiral, if you're not trained, if you're not practiced with it, you're disorientated.
That's true. Yeah.
So, also now that we're all flying in these pod harnesses as well, when we get into turbulent air, and your inner brain is saying, shit, this is turbulent air, what I tend to do now is ball up. When we test in a normal seated harness. So whenever I'm in rough air now, you'll know when I'm scared in the air, because you'll see my little legs come down and my little head come up.
Forward, yeah.
And I'll be looking at the wing. So I'll be balled up, I'll be looking at the wing and just controlling the wing, ready if I do get a collapse to go with the collapse and avoid twisting at all times.
Because that's the trouble.
So body position is really important. That's why we can get in trouble a little bit these days with our pod harnesses supine, full speed, boom. and the glider goes and we don't go with it. So really ball yourself up, get yourself ready. If you do lose complete control, the best thing, and you've gone through a series of cascading events, and let's say we're not in a locked-in spiral, because if we're in a locked-in spiral, the only way you're going to get out of the locked-in spiral is by counter-braking that spiral. Being passive is not going to help you, okay? It will just stay there. So your only option is to brake and get yourself out of the spiral, or throw your reserve parachute. If you're in a kind of collapse, shooting, surging, stalling, and you've just totally lost in the wing, what you tend to do is we tend to brake a little bit too late as it surges, it collapses, the brakes come on as it's back above your head, it stalls again, and you can just get in a bit of a muddle. When you're in that kind of muddled situation, the best thing to do is go, okay, bundle up, ball up, so you're not going to get twisted, and put about 25-30% brake to here, okay? Boom, and wait. Look at the wing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have to take control of your mind in these instances, because obviously you're shitting yourself, and it's very easy to panic.
In the air, going all over the place.
So it's really important to really take control of your own mind in these situations. Control, take your time, wait 5 seconds, count slowly to 5. Then you should be in a situation with the glider above you and in a recognisable state.